everybody, and welcome once again to the Meat Grinders Coaches Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Bowley. With me, as always, is Pete Paguaga. And this week, we bring on the second-year head coach of Guilford High School, but he had been an assistant there long before that. They made a great run last year, and now they're off to a great start again this year. It is Coach Brian White, second year. Coach, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, what can you say about your start so far? I mean, look, you guys had a really good record last year. You know, you were a little disappointed. You had a lead against Hand. You know, weren't able to pull that off. But I remember seeing you. You were still had a chance. I remember seeing you at Southern the next day. You had a chance to get into the playoffs. It didn't quite work out for you because Matt Jeffrey went nuts, and it didn't really work out
as
for
he
you.
does usually.
Yeah. But I remember you saying there, like, look, we're gonna have a better schedule. I think that was a big part of why you didn't make the playoffs. You know, you had a lot of wins, but not the points. And you were thinking you were gonna get a better one this year. Now you got it. And 3-1 is not bad to start to see. How you guys doing?
We're doing all right. I think like you said, there's different challenges for us this year for sure. I think walking in, we kind of saw that our schedule was definitely much more difficult, and we kind of expected that to be the case. So each week it's all about preparation, all about getting ready to play against tough opponents. And, it's a challenge, but it's something that makes it worthwhile.
Those kids get a good taste of like being right there at the end. What was their message going in this one? Do you feel like a little excitement back into school and maybe some more people trying out for football or giving football a look? Are you getting that kind of stuff?
I think it's going to be a process, right? Building things up. For the most part, I think the interest level is pretty consistent year to year. I don't think we're breaking any records with kids signing up for football, but I think at the same time, football's demanding. We'll say that pretty much. It's demanding your time. It's physically demanding. It's mentally taxing on kids. If you're coming in and just taking a flyer, I don't necessarily know how long you're going to last. But we got a couple kids this year that didn't play last year that are contributing for us this year, which is great. And we're hoping kind of to keep the thing rolling and keep going in a positive direction.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about some of those kids? I mean, obviously, you kind of started with Caden, who's just, I haven't seen you live in a real game yet. I did see you in a scrimmage, and against Rockville, who was, a pretty good team, and I just could not get over the fact that Caden was just kind of like, just slipping through all sorts of tackles, and just how much more powerful he got heading into this year. And I was like, this kid, it looks like he's gonna have a really big season. Just, what were you expecting out of him? And, tell me about his progress.
Yeah, he's a special kid, right? Where, obviously he's bigger in size and, he can run through people, but at the same time, people don't think realize how fast he is. I think he's probably the fastest kid on our team. And, somebody like that, he just has a tireless work ethic in the off season. And, he does a great job preparing. Going into this season, we told him that, there was going to be, because last year we had a number of kids, Tyler Hilgert throwing the ball, a bunch of receivers that were, really doing well in the pass game. This year we're coming in with a younger crew in that department, but at the same time, we have Caden who's really experienced, and we said, maybe if we're down in that area a little bit, he's going to have to do a lot more of the carrying of the ball, and that was something he was up for and something he was looking forward to. He's a special talent. He really is.
How's he? How's he been doing so far?
I mean, the first game we had, I think he was close to, if not just over 300 yards, against Fitch, who's usually a very good program. The second game, I think he was over 200 yards, and even against Cheshire, where we lost, he was still over 100. So, he's able to put up some numbers, and that really does help us out because in a pinch, you could always look to him to do some damage.
You guys were replacing a quarterback in Tyler Hilgert, who threw, I think, 37 touchdowns last year. Obviously, new faces, but how nice is it to have a guy like Caden where you're working a new quarterback in the first couple of weeks? Varsity's a little faster, having a guy like Caden where he can kind of, support him as, I think, was it Alex is getting used to playing at the varsity level.
Yeah, Alex he's also a pretty special athlete too, where I think he's, the main thing that we're trying to work on, like you had said, is just experience with him and game experience because, varsity games move faster, kids are bigger, kids are stronger. And I think every season you kind of have a senior group that you rely on or kids that you can lean on to kind of help with the younger guys, catch them up to speed. And Caden really has done a good job helping us out and giving us, opportunities to be able to move the ball well.
So who else? I mean, so who are some of the guys that we haven't mentioned yet who've really kind of contributed to your start so far, Coach? Like who's really
Yeah, I
kind of
would say, defensively speaking, we have a lot of talented kids. I think we brought a lot more back on that side of the ball, which really has helped us out. We have two captains, Logan Murphy, who's, a big kid. He's been a 3-year starter for us at a defensive tackle. And, he really is a difficult kid to block in a one-on-one situation. I know they don't, the D linemen don't usually get a lot of the headlines, but they do a lot of the gritty work. But, he's a kid that we've leaned on a lot to do that. And, we have a linebacker, this kid, Rocco Barbera, last year. He did a great job for us. And then halfway through the season, I think in our Harding game last year, he broke his leg. And then he came back actually for the hand game last year, and rushed through it and played, on probably about like a 50% of what would be considered a good leg at that point. But he's that type of kid. He's tough. He's gritty. He gets after people. He's a good leader on our defensive team. And I think our younger guys too are starting to step up as well.
you're cruising on a nice clip. Then you run into Cheshire, which is, always a tough opponent, even with some of the guys that they lost. But what did you guys kind of take out of that? Was that a little bit of a wake up call? I mean, what did you guys come away with from losing that game?
I think, look, Chester's a very good team, right? I think defensively they were very impressive. Their team speed overall on defense was strong. So I don't want to take anything away from them, but we also didn't do ourselves any favors. We put ourselves in a hole early, having kind of all those turnovers in the first half and not being able to kind of get out of our own way with mistakes, really put us back. Defensively, we made a couple of mistakes early, but then, we had talked about it as coaches, even when we were kind of going through film and doing everything else, where we were a, Jekyll and Hyde story in that game defensively. I think we played some of the worst football we had in the season in the first half. In the second half, we didn't give up a first down. So, I mean, if you look at it that way, it's, if we could have just found a way to kind of even it out a little bit, it's a different story. But Chester's a good team. You can't make mistakes against a good team like Cheshire and expect to come away, because then you're chasing all game, which is what we ended up doing.
So you got an interesting game this week coming up. Most of the state has buys, but you're going to be bringing down another one of the state powers in the alliance games in Killingly. They've already played Sheehan, so I'm sure you got plenty of notes from them. I don't know, maybe you didn't, but because I'm sure Faraz wants somebody at least from the league to pay him back or something to avenge his death, so to speak. But look, what kind of challenges do they pose? I don't know. Didn't they come down there last year? Or wasn't it recently? They came to Brantford.
They played Brantford. Yeah,
that's right. I knew they were playing the Shoreline. So I don't know if you saw. I mean, what do you think of them, Brian? I mean, what kind of challenges do they pose? Especially since they beat one of your own.
Yeah, when you watch them on film, they're really impressive offensively. I think they do things that not a lot of teams typically do, right, offensively and scheme wise. And what adds on to it is their discipline, they're athletic, they work hard, and they just get after you. All right, and they're an impressive team to watch on film. So, when you go against a team like that, it's about execution, it's about physicality. And, and if you can match that type of intensity that they have, then that's how you give yourself a chance. But yeah, no doubt they're very impressive. Like when you watch them on film, they have some kids that can really challenge you.
Well, you guys have a guy like that too. It's gonna be kind of like a rock'em sock'em game. I guess Pete said on the pick'ems, he said that they were like, it was like, well, not to spoil anything because the pick'ems come out tomorrow, but he said it was like the game could be over in 90 minutes if everyone does their jobs. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, is that the kind of game you want to play?
I think our strengths and their strengths are kind of the same in a lot of ways. Where I mean, it could look like 1985 out there on Thursday night,
except for the nice turf field you guys got.
Yeah, nice. But I think and what I mean is like they do things on the ground that other teams just don't do. And so you have to stop that and you have to force them into things that they're uncomfortable. But when you do, they can throw the ball. So it's not like they're one dimensional. They just choose to try and run over you first.
Yeah,
That's just
yeah.
so casual.
To coin a phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
um,
then obviously after Killingly, the rest of your guys' schedule: West Haven, Notre Dame, West Haven, Lyman Hall, Amity, Hamden, Hand. I mean, you guys are in. To coin a phrase, you guys have a meat grinder lined up the rest of the way here. How do you? I mean, you're going against Killingly, a state power relatively your size. And then it's like, oh, go play West Haven next, and then Notre Dame, and these bigger kind of programs. How do you guys stay, focused at one game at a time, kind of not looking forward? Because all of a sudden you blink and you get Hamden in hand to end the year.
Yeah. Look, there's no easy road here for us, which is fine. But I guess the good news is we don't have to win them all at once. So like you said, kind of like that cliche, win one game at a time. You just got to piecemeal. You got to go one step at a time, and kind of just see how we stack up, and how we plan for things, and how we get kids ready. I think that's really what it comes down to. You can't look at the big picture and kind of get caught up in every last detail. Like, our schedule's got this, it's relentless, which it is, which is fine at the same time. Where it's you want challenges, and if you can find ways to win games and you can find ways to have success, then once you're in the playoffs, you're tested and you're ready to go. And that's, ultimately that's the goal. I mean, is to try and find ways to get to a postseason.
Well, that's
no,
why we're here. We're the ones who look at the big picture
yeah.
and tell you that it's crazy and tell you that it's this really hard schedule. And then you got, we had George French on a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, "Oh, we're just on to the next game." And we're like, George, you could win 8 games here. He's like, "Please stop talking."
Yeah. You
Well,
you gotta have a short scope when you're looking at this from a coaching perspective, because it can get overwhelming if you start thinking that way. That's for
yeah.
sure.
I kind of did that to Brian last year. I don't think we talked to Brian much. We were like, I don't know that schedule they had. Oh, they're great, but I mean, the schedule.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you got sick of hearing that. But now you got the schedule, and now it's like, I don't know if they can handle this. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how you deal with guys like us. I just don't understand it.
No. Okay.
But it's been a while since we made a few mistakes. For some reason, I always think Guilford's never made the playoffs. But you were around when Guilford last made the playoffs, didn't you?
I was a freshman in high school the year we made it. Yeah, we ended up playing Ledyard in the state final, and that was a very good Ledyard team, and they kind of put it on us. But yeah, that was the last time we had actually, my freshman year. We were going into a last game situation. We had to play hand. I think it was Thanksgiving '93, and if the winner was going to the playoffs, the loser was going home, and we tied. And so both of us went to the state championship that year, and we both lost.
Oh, how convenient.
Yeah.
Isn't it always the way, though? I mean, Guilford's season, you could talk about a lot of Guilford's season. It always comes down to hand. And the last time that Guilford beat hand, you were actually on the sidelines, if I recall correctly.
I was actually in the
there
booth
with Scott Benoit. When Scott came in and really cleaned up this town, he kind of made his name. Well, he made his name in North Branford. Then he came down the road to Guilford and actually had you guys playing great and beat hand. I mean, I don't even. It was 90. No, sorry, 06. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right.
I think 05 or 06 was one of those years. Yeah.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah, I think it was 06. But
Yeah.
that was a big deal. I mean, we've heard all this talk. Should Guilford, is Guilford on the same field as hand? They're so close. Why would we separate them? But hand has their way. I mean, I don't know. What's the Guilford perspective on this? What's your thoughts on this? How do we, well, number one, how do we beat hand, or if you're Guilford? And second of all, I mean, there's been talk of getting rid of this. Would you want to get rid of this?
No.
Yeah,
Not in a
exactly,
million years.
right?
Not in a million years. For us, it's a goal, right? And for us, it's something that we want to try and get after. Gives you kind of like something to shoot for. I know it's lopsided in terms of its result, but no, I'd never want to get rid of it in a million years. It'd be something I'd always want to play. If we only played one game, it would be that game. And so I think that's it's a challenge. They're good. They're a fantastic team, fantastic program. And if you can go and you can play with them, then you're doing something right. So it's not going to be an easy overturn by any stretch of the imagination, to try and get after that game. But it's definitely something we want to do, and something we want to try for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure especially after last year, you must be like, oh my God, what do we got to do?
I mean, look, they're a very good team last year. So I mean, no lead was ever going to be saved with them. They had some exceptional players, exceptional athletes, right? And even going into that game, we in that first half of that game last year, we made a couple mistakes, and if we didn't make those mistakes, who knows what the result is? But they're very well coached. They have a great program. They have great history. They believe they're going to win, and we have to find a way to do the same.
Tell me about just the relationship between those two communities. It's so similar. It's like they're basically the same. I mean, there's differences, but I guess I'm going to ask you what are the differences between Madison and Guilford, two shoreline towns, a lot of the same type of
We're
things there.
virtually the same, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the way we're kind of set up, basically everything's the same. The only differences with really kind of the football programs that you see is in the entire lifespan of our program, we've had, I don't know, 15 coaches that have gone through this program. I think they had two for almost the entirety of their program. And so consistency matters, right? And so they were able to build up their program underneath some solid guys and some really good coaches. Phil Lapone's a great guy. I know him. You know what I mean? So they've done an exceptional job kind of just building up consistency. And we had the kind of opposite side of that coin where, as soon as, something good happened, somebody would leave, next guy in, it was kind of just constantly changing hands. You know what I mean? So that's something we're trying to reverse here now.
I mean, what's it take to do that? I mean, I mean, you know the town, you know the area so well. You've been assistant there for a long time. I mean, how do you, in your own image, what's it take to kind of build Guilford into something that you could be proud of?
Well, I think the first thing is like I just said, consistency, right? Where, you get people in place that are going to be there for the long haul, and you make sure that they're pushing the kids in the right way. Have the kids' best interest in mind, have the program's best interest in mind, and then you kind of build up from the ground up. Get involved with youth programs, get that system kind of going in the right direction. For us, we're trying to do that. We work pretty close with the youth programs here. And then it's just a simple matter of trying to develop kids. And it's nice when you have quick turnaround, but oftentimes it takes longer, right, to build up something pretty substantial.
You got to get the lacrosse kids and the football players. You got to get them playing both ways. You got to get them playing for
Yeah.
lacrosse for you in the spring and football for you in the fall, because Guilford, very strong lacrosse, ice hockey, baseball. I mean, there are athletes in town.
Yeah, for
Oh
sure.
my God. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what we run into here in our town is that there's a lot of good athletes, but there's also a lot of options. So, traditionally we've been more of a soccer town, so we're trying to not necessarily
Yeah.
take from one, rob Peter to pay Paul type thing, but we're trying to, just build up the talent that we have and make it into something special.
Right, and a lot more people can play football. You have the same guys on the field, but football, they don't have to. They can all be different types of guys. I think enough come out. So there's a little benefit right there, right? I know
Right.
it's soccer's big, and Guilford always has been. So I don't know, but if you don't make the soccer team, hey, we'll take you. You got it right. And I forgot to tell everyone that Brian does coach lacrosse. He's had a very good run over there. He's had a lot of good players. Oh man, who was the one who
John DeLucia.
Oh,
John DeLucia. Really good hockey player, too. Just want to
great
point that out. Very good hockey player.
and how's he doing?
He actually was a 5-year starter at Quinnipiac.
Yep.
And
Wow,
then he just stopped playing there. He graduated. Now he's got, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 degrees, whatever he left with there. He was a really intelligent kid too. So I think he's off now being a regular person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's fun being a regular person. But maybe you can. How about how about tell me a little bit quickly about your staff?
Yeah.
You came in for Salvati, went to North Brantford. You're on his staff. But who did you bring on board? Who'd you keep? Who were some of the guys helping you out?
So the guys we kept Roberto Landino, our offensive coordinator from that staff. He stayed over, and then again that was kind of a big priority for us for the consistency piece, so that we weren't learning a whole new system and going over things. So, and he does a great job for us, and communicates well with the kids. We brought over John Reinecke from Foreign. He used to be the D coordinator over there. John and I he's a Guilford kid. He played in Guilford, and I've known him basically his whole life. But he does a great job preparing us defensively wise too as well. So, our coordinator wise, I think we're in really good shape. We have knowledgeable guys who care and know what they're doing.
Sounds great. All right. Well, off to a nice little start. Big game this week at Kavanaugh Field, a nicely refurbished Kavanaugh Field. The whole school is just completely transformed over the last 10 years, maybe not even 5 years. It's beautiful. You haven't been there. I suggest going down there. It's a good time. They do a nice job, and I especially love when they cook the burgers at halftime, and all the smoke drifts over the field and covers it in this fog of burnt meat. It's the one thing I always remember when I go to Kavanaugh Field, because the snack bar is right there. and it gets you going like, man, I got to get some grub, during this.
Yeah.
So it's a great play, but it's a nice though. They did a really nice job at that field, coach.
Yeah, they've done really well. I mean, it took us a little while to kind of get that place kind of refurbished a little bit, but yeah, like you said, it's been probably about 4 or 5 years now since kind of that field's been redone, and it's a great venue. It's a great spot for the kids, and I think it really is cool to kind of highlight and showcase our teams on Friday nights.
All right. Well, we expect to see a lot more of you. We'll be there, obviously, when you play Killingly, big game, and then you go right back at it. You got West Ham, you got Notre Dame. I mean, it's just there's no rest for we have Lyman Hall, Amity. All of them are very, very capable. And then, of course, down the road, the big one. That's your place though this year.
Yeah, this year we get to host it. Yeah, which is fun.
Yeah. So do the burgers early, like Sean said. Get the burnt meat over the field before kickoff.
Yeah,
got to play mind games early.
Start cooking your turkey.
Don't let
early.
them lull you to sleep with their beautiful beach.
Yeah, forget that. Yeah, we're gonna do old school here. But all right, Coach, thanks for giving us a little time here. We really appreciate it. You're off to a great start, and I mean, we would absolutely no, I don't root for anybody, but I'd absolutely love to see Guilford beat Han one of these years. Let's get this rivalry really kindled. Let's get Han stop talking about, we don't know if we want to play this team anymore. I'm sure they say that just to get on your skin. But I'd like to see you guys get back there and kind of pop them a few times, just for competition's sake. I don't root on the field when you're playing there every week. Anyway, all right, Coach Frank, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And go get them on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday.
All right, guys, appreciate it. Thank you guys very much for having me on.